I'm Danielle, your host of the A Bridge to Motherhood podcast, the place where moms like you learn to thrive, not just survive through pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. I'm a birth and postpartum doula and a mom of two who's been where you are. My first pregnancy was filled with so much excitement, but it was also marked by stress, anxiety, and fear of the unknown. I thought I had everything mapped out, but when postpartum hit, I realized how unprepared I was for the physical, emotional, and mental toll of motherhood. It was overwhelming, lonely, and nothing like I imagined. When I found out I was pregnant again, I knew I needed to approach things differently. I made it my mission to not only prepare for postpartum, but to prioritize myself in the process. That shift changed everything. Now I'm here to help you do the same. Whether you're navigating your first pregnancy, feeling buried under endless advice, or struggling to figure out what you actually need for postpartum, this podcast is your safe space. You'll find practical tips, honest conversations, and expert insights to help you feel informed, supported, and empowered through every stage of motherhood. If you're ready to feel confident, prepared, and truly supported in your motherhood journey, stick around. This is for you. Hey friends, welcome back to the A Bridge to Motherhood podcast. I hope you enjoyed that episode with Alex King from Baby Led Weaning Academy last week, all about starting solids. And I felt like this next episode was the perfect one to talk about. It's all about finding your approach in motherhood to feeding and sleep for you and your baby. In this episode, we are going to empower you to find a feeding and sleep approach that works for your family. There's no one size fits all when it comes to these aspects of motherhood, even though people want to tell you that there is. By learning how to tune out the noise and focus on your values and your baby's needs, you can create a rhythm that feels sustainable and aligned with your parenting style. I know how overwhelming it is with all this conflicting advice about feeding and sleep routines all over the internet, all over social media. You probably feel pressure to follow a particular method or approach, even if it doesn't feel right for you. You're worried about making mistakes that could harm your baby's development. You feel stuck in comparison with other moms who seem to have it all figured out. But what works today might not work tomorrow, and that's okay. So let's talk about embracing flexibility in feeding and sleep. Parenthood requires adaptability. For example, a mom who starts with breastfeeding but transitions to formula when it's best for her and her baby is making a confident and flexible decision. Listen, I have been there, and having postpartum depression and anxiety to the degree that I had it, with the support that I needed, meaning some medications to help me be able to sleep, meant that I had to stop breastfeeding so that I could sleep and heal my mental health. Unfortunately, sometimes lactation consultants can make you feel awful if you decide to quit breastfeeding for whatever reason it is, or maybe you have low supply issues. And sometimes things do not work out, but you need to feel confident in what works for you and your family. And just because you start out doing one thing doesn't mean you have to stick with that the entire first year of your baby's life. There is a reason for formula. Of course, breastfeeding offers so many wonderful benefits. I teach my clients this. If I would have been able to continue breastfeeding for a year with my daughter, that's what I would have chosen to do. Unfortunately, that wasn't my experience. And instead of feeling support in that time, I felt judgment. And I don't want any mom to feel that way. I don't want you to feel like you failed if your initial plan changes. The next lesson I want to talk about for every new mom to learn is understanding your baby's cues and needs. Every baby is unique, and observing their natural rhythms can help you tailor feeding and sleep routines. Yes, there are certain universal hunger cues, like a baby sucking on their hand, a baby rooting and looking for the breast, rubbing their eyes if they're tired. But you will get to know your individual baby and what their hunger signs are, what their sleepy signs are before they melt down. And you're going to feel more confident and be able to respond proactively as you really tune into your baby and their cues. And if you didn't listen to the episode about mindfulness with Jacqueline Kramer, this is a great way for you to practice mindfulness, is just being so present and tuned in with your baby that you are really able to then hone in on those cues. I also want you to hear me on this because I followed a pretty strict schedule with my first baby, and overall it worked pretty well with her for her sleep needs and her feeding needs. Now, I was able to be flexible if we were out and about, but with my son, I was able to have more flexibility in that schedule, and I had to because I had a toddler. We had places we had to be, so we couldn't always be home for a nap at a certain time. We had to get Sissy to preschool. So rigidly sticking to a schedule that just doesn't align with you and your family's needs can end up causing a lot more stress than it does help to you during that time period. So again, don't be too strict with that routine, but be able to take that routine that you have established and then apply it to the rhythms and the seasons of life that you and your family are going through at that time. Next, I want to make sure you're still prioritizing your own well-being. This episode is not just about babies' feeding and sleep schedules, but yours too. Feeding and sleep decisions should support both your baby's health and your mental and physical well-being as well. For example, you may choose a sleep training method that your best friend wouldn't pick because it allows you to get enough rest and feel more present and patient with your baby. But don't ignore your own limits or needs to meet external expectations from others. And if you're choosing a different method where maybe you're co-sleeping, or maybe you are choosing to put baby in another room and everyone's telling you to leave baby in the room with you, but you can't sleep if baby's in the room, you just need to feel super confident in your choice and tell people this is what works for our family. Next, filter advice through your values. Not every piece of advice is going to fit your family's goals or lifestyle, and it's okay to trust your own intuition. Co-sleeping has gotten a bad rap in a lot of communities, and there is information out there about how to do this safely in a bed on a hard surface, not on a recliner. The way that you position your baby, there's so much that goes into it, right? And this is not medical advice. I want you to seek the advice of your medical provider if this is something that you are considering doing, but you may choose to co-sleep safely despite criticism and feel empowered because it aligns with your values. Do not let guilt or judgment sway you away from what feels right for you and your baby. And lastly, celebrate progress over perfection. Feeding and sleep patterns evolve. Your baby is constantly growing and changing in that first year. Acknowledge the effort and progress you've made instead of striving for perfection. A mom who celebrates her baby sleeping 3 hours in a row instead of worrying about a full night's sleep feels encouraged. Listen, my son was like this. My daughter, unicorn baby, slept really well. My son, not so much. We were up every 2 to 3 hours for months with him, sometimes way more frequently overnight. So the first night he gave me a 5-hour stretch of sleep, you better bet I was celebrating. Do not view setbacks as failures. View them as opportunities to adjust and grow. It's all about your mindset. So let's talk about some actionable takeaways. If you are struggling with babies' feeding and sleep patterns, what can you do? One of the ways to kind of get a handle on what's going on is actually journal about it. So journal your baby's patterns. Keep track of feeding and sleep cues to better understand what works for your little one. What is their wake windows look like? Are they following an eat, play, sleep schedule? Are they doing sleep, play, eat? What is it? Once you have that written down, maybe you can figure out a way to tackle it or work with a sleep consultant or a lactation consultant to help you figure out how to create a routine or a schedule that works better for you and your family. Next, define your priorities. Write down your values and goals for feeding and sleep and use them to guide your decisions. Again, there's so much noise out there. So taking a moment to quiet your mind and actually write down what you want for you and your family and your baby, having that written down in front of you is going to help you make those decisions so much easier because you can look back at them and say, this is what we decided as a family works for us. Next, set boundaries with advice. Practicing, thank you so much for your input. I'll consider what works best for our family. Say it in the mirror. Say it till you're blue in the face. Say it until you can say it with a smile. It's okay to set those boundaries when people are offering unwanted advice. Next, experiment with some routines. Be willing to try different approaches to find what feels sustainable and aligned for you. Some babies prefer to be held when they're taking a nap. Contact naps are okay. If that is what works for you and your family so that your baby can get a nap and then sleeps better at night, do what works. And don't forget to celebrate those wins. Reflect on small victories to build confidence and reduce stress. Celebrate you growing as a mother. You deserve to say, wow, look at how far we have come. Parenthood is full of choices, and feeding and sleep are some of the most personal, and they are some that have the most opinions surrounding them. By focusing on what works for you and your baby, you're going to feel more confident and at peace. But before you go, I want to remind you that the wait list for the Abridged to Motherhood community closes this Sunday, July 6th. So if you've been craving real support, real answers, and a space where you can just be without all of the pressure, this is your place. Inside the community, you'll feel seen, understood, and finally like you're not doing this postpartum thing alone. You'll get the tools, the support, and the conversations you've been desperately looking for. And here's the best part. When you join that wait list, you're going to lock in at founder member pricing during pre-sale, and you'll get a bonus free 30-minute one-on-one call with me to help you figure out exactly what you need right now. But you've got to get on that list before July 6th. That's when it closes. Pre-sale opens on July 7th, and only the people on the wait list are going to get that founder member pricing. Go to abridgedtomotherhood.com/waitlist or tap the link in the show notes to grab your spot. And I cannot wait to welcome you in. Thanks so much for listening to Abridged to Motherhood. Remember, there's no right way, just the way that works best for you and your family. Keep trusting your instincts and embracing the beauty of your unique journey. Can't wait to talk to you all next week. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Abridged to Motherhood podcast. I'm so glad you were here today. If you loved this episode, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a review for the podcast on whatever platform you're listening on. Share it with a friend or snap a screenshot and tag me on social media. If you decide to leave me a review, go to abridgedtomotherhood.com/review. That link is also in the show notes so that I can send you a little gift in the mail. Your support helps other moms to find the podcast, and it truly means the world to me. Remember, your motherhood journey deserves your care and attention. Until next time, keep showing up for yourself, mama, and don't worry, I'm here to help every step of the way. See you soon.